So overall, the idea or mission behind the whole project is to present the teachings in contemporary formats, like short videos on YouTube, online articles, podcast episodes. We feel like these formats at the moment, they work as entry points to Krishnamurti's material. So it's, in a way, it's aimed at new audiences, people that haven't heard of Krishnamurti, and including a young audience. But it's not designed to be the end of the journey, as it were. We expect that people that haven't heard of K find this material, and from there they start their own investigation, which usually it should end in looking at complete public talks in an international YouTube channel or the international website that contains all the transcripts, that is jkrishnamurti.org. So this is kind of important because we feel like it's like creating an environment or an ecosystem with these different formats, and each of them play a part, but the final destination, as it were, is for somebody to be fully immersed in the teachings and not just read a few quotes on social media. So in terms of the Immeasurable.org, that's the online magazine, it consists of mainly two types of material. We have short videos based on Krishnamurti quotes, and articles from authors that are interested in Krishnamurti, but also in philosophy and psychology, or articles like topics like the sense of self, the nature of emotion, conflict. So the idea is to bring people, again, that are interested in philosophical or psychological themes like this one, to the page, to the Immeasurable.org, and they could find there Krishnamurti's writings for the first time. So the articles include Krishnamurti quotes, but they are more geared toward these other type of topics. So it's not that the author will describe the teachings directly, but they would have, the content could be, what is emotion or what is fear. And throughout the article, you see Krishnamurti quotes. And that has been working really well as a door for people to come, people that are interested in psychology, for example. All of a sudden, they are faced with Krishnamurti's teachings. And again, that would be another entry point to the material. One example quickly I can give regarding the videos. We created a video like a year ago called What is Going to Happen in the Future. And now suddenly we are receiving a lot of visits online through the search term, what is going to happen. So people at the moment are searching for that term, and Google is ranking the Immeasurable quite high. I imagine that people are searching for this term because of the coronavirus crisis, and they're finding the video, what is going to happen in the future. So that is pretty good because these people never heard of K. That's why they are not adding the search term. Krishnamurti is not in their search terms. So that's a good example of how the Immeasurable is working for us. So regarding the videos, I have done the majority of them. We have people now working, volunteers and filmmakers that are producing some of the videos with me. The way we start these videos is trying to find a good excerpt, almost like a concentrated excerpt of K, which are not easy to find because usually Krishnamurti in his public talks, opens all sorts of branches and expands on different areas. But sometimes you can find these short insights, as it were, where you can capture 3 minutes, and that's the basis for the video. And so from there we build the whole thing, meaning that the message and K's message is the most important thing. Then we add music, which we are very clear that it shouldn't be distracting or dramatic. It's kind of difficult because music in general has a particular tone, right? So it's very difficult to find music that is somehow neutral, as it were. But that's our aim. So in a way, this ambient music accompanies K's voice and message without creating a distraction or an extra emotion. Regarding the video footage, similar thing. It has to be carefully selected trying not to use any symbolic imagery, or as little as possible. I say as little as possible because any element can be considered symbolic if you think about it, even a color. Why have you chosen orange background instead of a black one, for example? It can have a specific meaning to a particular person. So it's quite tricky, but we're very careful. We make sure that we move away from visuals that can be seen as interpreting the teaching. So I have a few videos to show based on time. Let's see how it goes. I have at least two. The first one is one of the early ones, which has got quite a good amount of views on YouTube, and it's titled Understanding Yourself.
We seem to think that our life, the daily life one leads, is something separate, away from the whole world of travail, misery, confusion. We think the individual, the you, is different from the rest of the world. The world, with all its atrocities, wars, inequality and injustice. When you look little more closely, then you will see what you are, your daily life, what you think, what you feel, is the external world. You are the world. You are the human being that has made this world, the world so utterly in disorder, the world that is crying in great sorrow, helpless. It is you, the human being, have built this world. So that world outside you is not different from the world in which you live, your world, your private life. So, in bringing about a radical change in the human being, in you, in the individual, you are naturally bringing about a radical change in the structure and the nature of society, which means the individual, the you, the human being, has to go into the whole structure of himself. One must understand oneself, how you are made, both biologically as well as psychologically. If you want to think rationally, sanely, you have to know yourself. You have to search out the causes of why you think and do certain things, why you are aggressive, brutal, acquisitive, dominating, possessive, which are all the causes of conflict between human beings. It's only by seeing actually what is taking place in your life, observing it very closely, without any condemnation, then you will discover for yourself that the mind can be free.
Yes, so that was one of an early video that we produced, I think last year, beginning of last year. That one has 100,000 views, so it's very popular. I just want to show also my screen briefly, which I think we should be able to do it. Let me know if you don't see it. So this is the Immeasurable page, the immeasurable.org. We have around 20,000 subscribers at the moment. So in 4 years, that's quite a number for the foundations. We haven't had anything like that with other websites. And I just wanted to show briefly how it looks. You have all the videos here. And there is a bit of a community. Some of the videos have quite a big amount of comments. So the next step, I think, is to show you the second video, which is also quite popular. It's about the future, what is going to happen in the future. And this is the one that I mentioned before in terms of the example of Google search and how new people are actually finding this video thanks to the title. And somehow, because people are finding it to be meaningful, Google has put it high in the rankings. So if Jaime, you can show the second video, it's called what is going to happen in the future.
What is going to happen in the future? Man has turned his mind towards perfecting more and more technology. Computers, better instruments of war, better communication, better means of killing another human being, and so on. His consciousness has moved towards greater technology, right? He's given his energy in that direction. Our brains are becoming more and more technologically minded, gadgets. We're not saying you shouldn't have that. We are saying that's inevitable. That's what's happening. And man has given very little time, energy, thought in any other direction. He doesn't say, I'm going to find out for myself what I am, why I behave like this, what is beyond all this. We have not given that equal energy or time or vitality to inquire within ourselves what we are. Is there anything ultimate beyond all sorrow? Is there any existence without cause? The inquiry of something far greater than all technology, all human thought. You see the picture. Not in opposition, not as a reaction to that, but man cannot live on technology alone and its products. One has to go into something that is immeasurable. Please see the actuality of all this. Suppose you give your time, energy, your capacities to real inquiry, not accepting belief and all that childish stuff, but deeply inquiry. Inquiry is different from analysis. Inquiry is to observe and pursue that observation. So when one human being does this, you may add to the whole human consciousness a certain quality to it. And if there were 1,000 people who were concerned with this, not forming a group and all that kind of silly stuff, but actually giving your whole life to this, then you are adding to the human consciousness a quality of something beyond all words, beyond all thought, beyond all conclusions, something eternal.
So that was the second video, what is going to happen in the future. And now I'm just going to pass it to Henry, who has been working with the podcast. I think we started the podcast at the beginning of this year, more or less, and it's been doing really well. We have over 5,000 downloads. But before that, I just want to mention that this project, we started this project, and it's been always with us. We have a friend of the foundation who is a partner in this project, Melbourne Smith. He has been with us since the inception of it and has really helped creatively and financially. So we are very grateful to him for that. I just want to mention him because we've been in contact with him since the beginning and discussing the approach and what's the best thing for this project. So yes, by the end, I think we're going to watch another video, a last video, but now I pass it to Henry.
Thanks, Francisco. So as Francisco said, essentially the podcasts are an extension of the Immeasurable project. The idea, like most of the Immeasurable material, is to offer the teachings, engagement around the teachings on a different media format, with a lot of people listening to podcasts in their cars. We wanted to give people an opportunity to listen in different ways. Even people can say to Alexa, play the Immeasurable podcast, and it plays. So we wanted to have a couple of different ways to access the material. And the project also has a couple of different, I'd say, maybe intentions behind it or leanings. We have three main sections that we look at with the podcast. One are the teachings, and they're talks by J. Krishnamurti in small groups, and we've been highlighting the 1970 Malibu talks this year. We're doing the entire 8-part series. We just launched the third this Friday, May 1st, and we're keeping it consistent with a new podcast on the 1st and the 15th of every month going forward. In addition to these teachings, we also have interviews. We have interviews with Mark Lee, who is actually just speaking before this event. Mark Lee interviews people who have spent a long time with Krishnamurti, sharing stories. What was it like being with Krishnamurti? How were Krishnamurti's teachings impactful in their lives? In addition to that, we have an area called explorations. And explorations is really the passion that brought me to the project, because not everyone is aware that at the foundations worldwide, we engage in dialogue around the teachings. There isn't just a studying of K, spending time with one another, attending events. We also do something called dialogue, which in a way is, we're in a sense always questioning, how do we even approach the topics of the teachings? Is there a different way to approach them, a way that's not necessarily cognitive? So if you were to listen to the first podcast episode we released, What is Dialogue, which has, I think, as of today, about 1,500 downloads already, we really explore that very question. Corey Fischer, who you've seen is involved in a lot of the podcasts. Yop's been on quite a few. The resident students are involved in an upcoming podcast, actually, on race and sex and the conditioning around that, how that applies to K's teachings. And in the future, we're looking to, continue to make the explorations really rich, really vital, and to continue to engage with the audience and kind of reach new audiences. Because the idea is, what really are the burning questions that one has today? What are the vital questions that come when you're reading Krishnamurti? What does it actually make you question? What does that look like? And in speaking with others, is it possible for us to go into these things together? That, in essence, would be an exploration. That, in essence, would be a dialogue. And these are happening weekly at all the foundations worldwide. And if people are drawn to the content, we invite them to come to the foundations and participate in those kind of dialogues with us if they're drawn to. So the last thing I'll say is really, this is very audience-driven. So we're always open to feedback and trying to make this content rich, engaging, and vital. So we welcome any feedback. And thanks for listening.
Perfect. So yeah, at the end, I think I'm going to give all the links again to the different sections of the Immeasurable, including the podcast and the online magazine. And now I will pass it to Gianni, who has been working on the online courses in the last few months. It's going to launch very soon. It's not fully ready, but we are almost there. Gianni.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francisco. We are still putting together the online course. There's just still some technical things we need to sort out in terms of, just making sure it's as seamless as possible. But the essence of what we would like to do and what we are doing with these online courses is that I believe in the 90s, but more so throughout the years, the foundation has published these study books. So we've taken the large body of work that Krishnamurti has through his writings, through his talks, through his dialogues, through several decades, and have made some edited selections based on certain topics or themes. So some of these are the individual and society. Some of these may be choiceless awareness. The one that we focused on for the launch of these courses is the mirror of relationship. So the study books, they're a mix of all kinds of different material. And so one of the great things about an online course is that we can now sort of bundle that material and kind of put it in one central location where people can go and encounter that material. So we now have text, so we have PDFs people can read, as well as videos to watch and audio to listen to. And so all of these are previously, sort of bundled together in a book, but now we have, the opportunity to encounter that selection in various, mediums and formats. And so all of the online courses will be free and available when they do launch. The other part of what's exciting about an online course format is the ability to connect people from, all around the world who might be looking or have an interest in having dialogues with others into these topics. It doesn't necessarily have to be so much a, rigid study group of Krishnamurti's work, right? I mean, really we should take Krishnamurti's work as and try to follow that line of inquiry and make it relevant for our own lives and for our own explorations, right? I mean, we've heard that sort of echoed through all of our presentations today. So that's the real intention of these online courses, is to provide the material, to provide it in sort of diverse mediums as much as we have, and as well as to connect people together. So each of the web pages will have a chat sort of forum comment section, and spread throughout the course, there are reflection prompts. Again, this is nothing like a quiz or a test or anything like that. Anything like that would be very inappropriate. But these reflection prompts are made to drive at certain questions and get the conversation rolling. So people can post and people can respond to other people's posts. And so that's really what is, in my opinion, the most exciting about this offering, is the connection that it will allow. I mean, it's always great to have the centralized sort of material presented and one can go to, but it's really the connection that's the most exciting part. After the main launch, we will begin to develop a sort of more organized facilitator who will come in to host Zoom dialogues. So the first version of the rollout will have just the very basic but still substantial, commenting features. So people will make an account, you'll have a username, not too unlike the YouTube comment sections now. But moving forward, we hope to even elevate that to the level of, through Zoom or other sort of chat services, to have it be real conversations between people and hopefully be able to connect people in areas where they might not have these sort of groups or be connected to others that are interested in diving into these questions and diving into them in the way that Krishnamurti, points to so much throughout his work, in a way that doesn't have to be merely like debate club or something like that, something overly domineering. So that's the real exciting, and I think there's no more perfect time than now for something like this to launch. So just ironing out some of the technical stuff, but it'll be very exciting to post it, send it out. Be sure to follow the newsletter because that is something when it does launch, it will be sent out through that. And I think it's an exciting new medium, and I think it's something that is really utilizing the internet to bring people together around these topics. And so in that way, I think it is very different than what the foundation has been able to offer in the past as far as online, right? People come here to the center and they participate in programs and whatnot, but to really sort of open that up and make it more accessible is very exciting.
Thanks, Gianni. Yes, and I think that also due to these crazy times that we are living, it also feels that things are going to move more and more online than anything else. So I think we didn't plan it this way, but I think it's good that we actually have this going. So we don't have much time. I just want to mention the links to the different project sections that we just discussed, and then we can finalize the presentation with a video. So for the online magazine, the one that I mentioned at the beginning, that's the immeasurable.org. Then the online radio lives at kfa.org. It's at the top menu in the main page of the KFA. The Immeasurable podcast at podcast.kfa.org. And the online courses platform, not ready yet. We will give you the link soon. If you would like to know more about any of these projects, you can contact us at info@theimmeasurable.org. And now, Jaime, if you don't mind presenting the last video, which is about love. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Actually, and that's a terrible thing to realize, actually, we have no love. We have sentiment. We have emotionality, sensuality, sexuality. We have remembrances of something which we have thought as love. But actually, brutally, we have no love. Because to have love means no violence, no fear, no competition, no ambition. If there is love, there is peace. Because you would educate your children not to be nationalists, not to have only a technical job and look after his own petty little affairs. You would have no nationality. There would be no divisions of religions. If you love. But as these things actually exist, not theoretically, they exist brutally in this ugly world, it shows that you have no love. If the mother really loved her child, do you think the world would be like this? So we have not that love. But you must have it. If you don't have it, you cannot have virtue, you cannot be orderly, you cannot live with passion. And there is no time. You can't say, well, I can't live without love because I've lived without love. For 2 million years, I've lived another 2 million years without love. That means perpetual sorrow for the next 2 million years. So what will you do? If you say, please tell me what to do, then you are missing the bus entirely. But if you saw the importance, the immensity, the urgency of that question. Not tomorrow, not next day or next hour, but see it now while you are sitting. Admittance of time is the greatest sorrow. As sorrow and love cannot be resolved, or love cannot exist through time, what is the state of your mind that has put this question? If you put that question with that alacrity, with that urgency, with that potency, then what takes place in the mind? Because it will not allow time to come and interfere. Therefore, such a mind has an infinite space both in the mind and in the heart. And so that mind is in that state of love and in that sense of beauty, in that sense of vast infinite space, there is creation.